I do not think that modern archaeology has the full story, and I've seen the way they behave. I saw the way Flint Dibble behaved with Graham. They're gatekeepers. They don't want anyone to have any information that they don't have. So even in the face of very compelling information, they dismiss openly, quickly, without any consideration. They just want to dismiss it, and then they want to pretend that any archaeologist that presents any kind of information that fucks up the narrative isn't immediately attacked. And they are. Their careers are ruined, whether you go back to Clovis first or in any of these different archaeologists that have proposed alternative theories of the human timeline. All of the conventional archaeologists, all the mainstream people attacked them, dismissed them.
Randall Carlson, Robert Schoch, John Anthony West.
Mm-hmm.
If I were advising Graham, I would have said, don't do that debate. Don't do it. There's no way to come off. You're not going to convince anybody, and you're just going to come off not looking great. And I've seen his response on his own site. And he's even said that was probably a mistake. He wasn't prepared enough. But you'll never be prepared enough for a professional debunker. You just won't be. They'll have too much. So I would have told him, don't go into the lion's den.
Well, the problem was he wasn't being honest. Flint was not being honest about the information that we have, particularly about offshore shipwrecks. He was just not honest.
Nope.
You know, and the amount that they have discovered, not honest.
And Graham didn't know that at the time.
And also the timeline of like how old these are. When you get to 5,000, 6,000 years, there's no ship left. All you have is like the pottery and whatever is on the ground at the bottom. And if you're talking about 10,000 years, 15,000 years, who's to say that that's not completely covered by sediment by then? And it probably would be.
Well, you know, I watched a little of Zahi Hawass on
I am a scientist. I am not a scientist. I am the only Egyptologist who have an open mind. That was already shot again. Joe, that was already
here.
That's all you need, just a little for that episode. You get it.
I couldn't believe he's still doing it. I mean, maybe he was around when they actually built the things.
I think that was probably the best advertisement for alternative archaeology you're ever going to get. When you see the guy that's the gatekeeper and how closed-minded he is.
He didn't mention the capstones, the limestone facing from Torah. He didn't even talk about it.
Well, also, this just saying it was the national project, and that's how they were able to get 80-ton stones 500 miles away through the mountains on sleds. Like, come on.
The Aslan stones are from 1,200 miles away.
Yeah.
You know, the Torah stones are, I don't know, 20, 30 miles away or whatever they were.
How about those Lebanon stones at Baalbek?
Baalbek, they can't, how many tons is that? You need a person standing on it to even see the size of it. If you've never seen the Baalbek stone, if you're listening, the thing is it's like a skyscraper on its side.
Yeah.
And it's one solid piece.
And it was moved there.
Yes.
See, pull up the Baalbek stones in Lebanon, because there's stuff that's above it that is like of a more recent time period, but it seems to have been put there on top of these older stones that are so big they don't make any sense. Like, that's just one of them that was quarried but not moved. But the ones that are in place, go to the ones that, like, see, like these ones, the ones that are above. So they're the lower stones and the ones above. You don't realize how big they are unless you can get a human being to stand next to them. But they are preposterously big. Like, there you go.
Right.
Like,
15 feet high, 30, 40 feet long. I mean, they're shown in metric, so I'm confused.
Incredible.
Right.
And who did it and when? When was that done? And then there's like Malta, like that stuff that they think Malta was constructed when the sea levels were much lower. So there was a way to make a path to there from Italy and from these other places because they found Neanderthal bones there. And
that, so, allegedly giants built that. And Derinkuyu and all the hidden cities underneath Cappadocia and Turkey that they're finding are connected.
Those are nuts.
No one knows who made them.
No one knows who made them, and they can have thousands of people living underground.
They can bring fresh water from the aquifers. They can bring fresh air and circulate it. They have defensive mechanisms with these giant stones, and nobody knows how they made them.
Yeah, and who?
And why?
Yeah.
Great Flood.
Yeah, that's the theory, right? The theory of the Great Flood and then the Younger Dryas impact theory destroyed the atmosphere where there was this like above the earth, which is like chaotic, and they sought refuge underground.
I lean more toward that the ice sheets melted from a solar event than an impact, but it certainly could be either. I mean,
Well, it could be a combination of
Could
things
be.
because it's also they think there was more than one. The impact event happened. They know this based on core samples, iridium, the nanodiamonds that come from impacts.
this is
And-
the Greenland impact.
Yeah, not just Greenland, North America. They think I think they found the evidence of this stuff at like 30% of the Earth's surface where they believe these things had hit. I think we got bombarded.
Right, so that would be like flying through an asteroid field, like
Mm-hmm.
like the Leonids or the Perseids or the Taurids. So the remnants of some giant object that is rubble, and then we
Right.
just fly through it, which means we fly through it frequently,
We fly through it twice a year.
twice a year.
But we don't always, most of the time we get lucky and it's not a hot one. But like what happened
there
with
are big-
Tunguska.
Tunguska, right? That's Grandma. This
And
is
it's-
1907.
And in the same month that we passed through that comet field.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, that's over Siberia. And that was an airburst, I believe, because there's no impact crater,
Right.
but it flattened like millions of square miles of trees.
And it's still fucked to this
Sti-
day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's images of that if you want to look up that. There's actual like film of it. It's crazy. It looks like a bomb went off.
Yeah, we're in a shooting gallery. Earth is flying through a shooting gallery. There's 900,000 near-Earth objects that are just hovering around out there.
And NASA says we track most of them
The
because in those fields with the Perseids towards there are big objects. There are Earth killers in there.
Oh yeah,
And Apophis is lurking. Apophis is the big one. That's due to fly by in a few years.
what's that one?
That's a giant asteroid. That's I think it's due to fly by maybe 2030 something.
How big is that one?
I'll get it wrong. I mean, I'm going to say a million things wrong today. I'll hear all about it. But it's a planet killer. Like it's a civilization ender, and it's going to fly near. Like we're going to be able to see it during the day.
375 meters across, about the size of a cruise liner. It will pass within 32,000 kilometers of Earth's surface on April 13th, 2029.
Now stop there. That's closer than the moon.
Whoa.
That's way closer than the moon.
Yeah,
So that's about 70,000 miles, where the moon is
250.
250 to 300. So we're going to see that.
Wow.
You don't want to see that in this. You don't want to look up and see that.
Well, just knowing that ones far larger have passed through.
Mm-hmm.
And then we know for sure a bunch have hit.
For sure.
Chichen Itza, that one.
All right, Chicxulub, but that was
Yeah.
pseudoscience until that father son went down there and found it.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't that. I think that was when I was growing up. The dinosaurs died. And that was a conspiracy theory. The
Right.
asteroid.
Right.
And they found it. I think around
Found the
1980.
Yucatan impact. Yeah.
And that's
under the ocean.
And the iridium
Yeah.
matches it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All that is really spectacular stuff. It's just like when you look at the moon, you see the craters all over it and you realize, okay, this is what happens when you don't have an atmosphere and you also don't have water and you could see everything that hits. Like the whole thing.
The whole thing. Well, why
Covered.
But why are there so many fewer impacts on the other side?
Are there?